Maryland football could have the best pass rush in the Big Ten next year.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, host of Locked On Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So thank you guys all for making us part of your day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The college football playoff is here, and FanDuel's the best place to get into the action all playoff long. So visit FanDuel.com to get your college football playoff profit boost every game day. Maryland football, I think, could actually have the best pass rush. I keep wanting to say pass rushing duo, but that's not what it is anymore. The best pass rush out of anybody in the Big Ten next year. Might sound crazy, might sound like a bit of a stretch, and I know it kind of does. But when you really look at this thing, you start to realize that Maryland football could really have one of the best pass rushers in all of the Big Ten next year. And this is something that I've been begging for under Mike Locksley. This is something that I've really wanted. I've always said, I feel like we haven't had really any good pass rushers in the time under Mike Locksley. And he hasn't done a good job necessarily recruiting it. He hasn't really done a good job during his time at Maryland developing it. There hasn't been a ton of guys that you're like, yeah, that guy is going to get to the quarterback until this year. Until this year, we had two guys, one who was expected to be pretty good, and Zahir Mathis, 4-star, has kind of all the physical traits, 6'6", but didn't enroll early, so didn't know too much and they couldn't really hear too much about how good he was going to be until we actually started the games. And then you had this kid, Sidney Stewart, didn't play senior year of high school for whatever reason it was, and also not a high-level recruit, underrated guy, like not the biggest guy in the world or not like has the perfect build. But when you see him rush the passer, you're like, he does have a lot of God-given talent. Might not be 6'4" coming off the edge, but man, his bend, the way he's able to get under guys, some of his moves that he's able to put on, he's a talented cat for sure. And you end up with these two freshmen who make a pretty insane impact on the football team that you just don't expect two freshmen to make. Both guys, I thought, were arguably the best pass rushers out of all the freshmen out there. And when you look at their when you look at their stats and when you look at some of the awards, both of them were like mid-season freshman All-American. And a part of the reason I did this segment was because I saw Sidney Stewart was named the 2025 freshman All-American, which I think is a pretty big deal. Being a freshman All-American, Sidney Stewart, Zahir Mathis also had some allocates that were really good as well. And both guys just had really awesome years. And so when you have two freshmen, getting back to kind of the point, when you have two freshmen who make an impact like that on the edge against Big Ten offensive linemen, you sit back and you're like, hold up, hold the phone. These two guys might be the real deal for Maryland football. Like, I don't know if there's a better pass rushing duo, and somebody can correct me on that if I'm wrong, coming back in the Big Ten than those two guys coming off the edge for Maryland football. And I think we're going to get to the quarterback next year. Zahir Mathis, 6 sacks as a freshman. Like, that's a big year. Like, 7 sacks for Sidney Stewart. We didn't have guys getting that many sacks, let alone a freshman getting that many sacks. Like, we'd be lucky if a guy would get like 4 sacks. And a lot of that was like with blitzing guys and having to get creative. A lot of those two guys' sacks just came from lining up on the edge and getting to the QB. And for a while, it was like, dang, okay, Sidney Stewart is looking like our best player, arguably. I remember, I forget what game it was. I want to say It might have been the Washington game. It was one of those games where they came back in the second half, or the Nebraska game. I forget which game it was exactly, but I remember he got knocked out for the game, and it's like all of a sudden the other team was coming back because I think he had a targeting penalty, and it's like all of a sudden the other team starting to come back, and it showed the importance of having Sidney Stewart in. But I can't emphasize enough having two guys on the edge, both guys having some of the physicality, being able to get to the quarterback is something we haven't seen, and it makes all the difference this coming year and for Maryland football. It makes all the difference. What we can do, we can drop back more coverage. We can get to the quarterback so much more. Should be able to get off the field way more on third down if both of those guys are on. It's going to be something scary for Maryland football, and I just don't know how many guys in the Big Ten, how many pass rushing duos I would take over those two coming back. Like, I don't really know. You guys let me know. Guys that are coming back, where guys are also like, obviously last year there were some guys that were pretty good in the Big Ten, but in terms of players that are coming back, a lot of those guys are off to the draft. To be honest, a lot of those guys are off to the draft and are going to be playing on Sundays. There's not a ton of youth guys that I was like, yeah, they were really good. And I felt like Zahir and Sidney Stewart, they were as good as a young kind of players that you'll really see. So I thought that was honestly pretty cool when you look at it. There was definitely some guys that were pretty good, like the Caden Curry guy from Ohio State. But I know he's gone. Deny from Penn State. He went to my high school. I know he's gone. And then you look at it, Sidney Stewart was 10th in the Big Ten in sacks, and Zahir Mathis was 17th. Like, that's pretty good when you think of the quality of rushers that are in the Big Ten. So definitely something to kind of look out for and something to be excited about next year. But then there's this other dimension, and this is the part where I'm like, it takes me over the top. I'm like, you think Maryland, you're like, oh, the best pass rush? Like, not really. You get maybe arguably the best player in the 2026 class. And he's an edge rusher, and he's freakier than both of those guys. And you add that guy to the mix, and if he's what we think he's going to be, we think he can be an All-American. We think he can be an All-Big Ten guy. And even if freshman year he's not quite that, I still expect him to be really good as a freshman. Like, I expect him to have similar production as Sidney and Zahir, if not better, as a freshman. And if he's what we expect and what a lot of people expect him to be, you're looking at three guys that are potentially, all three of them, pretty high-level NFL draft picks, all Big Ten types of players coming off the edge. And even though they're young, two sophomores and a freshman, I'm looking at it and I'm like, this might be the best pass rush in the Big Ten. Like, I think it has an opportunity to be able to do that. And you have some younger guys behind them that can develop, but you have three guys that can go get it. Like, that's pretty deep. And you have some guys behind them that are decent, like not amazing, but decent players. And you put those three guys rotating on and off the field. They should all be fresh. I think it's scary. You had Zion Elite, potentially the number one recruit in the nation. I know he dropped off a tad where he was, but you could still rank him there, his talent and traits. And two guys that were arguably the best pass rushers as freshmen in the entire country. It might be the best in the Big Ten. And I can't say it enough. I've been praying Loxley to get guys like this, and we might have lucked into it a little bit, to be completely honest. Like, you some of this stuff, when you're not getting consistent, like 4-star guys, you might luck into a couple guys. So be it. If that's the case, if we can credit Maryland's recruiting staff and some of their scouting and different things like that, but still, so be it. Having that in the Big Ten can make all the difference in a schedule next year. That's going to be a lot harder. And we have a team that can win games next year. I do think so. And I think the strong part of the team, you're going to look at that pass rush. And if that's good, could get scary. Maryland defense could be really good. And even if our secondary is not quite as good as maybe it's been under Mike Loxley in some years, you think of some of the players that we've turned out to the NFL draft, even though last year I didn't think it was that good the last 2 years, but some of the years before, I think you can get away with it with those three guys coming off the edge. I wish you could rush all three of them at the same time, but I feel like most of the time you'll have both of them on their edge guys. But you never know. You see guys like Myles Garrett lining up over the nose tackle. Like you see that sometimes with pass rushers. You could do it on like 3rd and 10 when you know the opponent's going to run the football or pass the football, excuse me. So correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know who's back in the Big Ten. But man, I think this is the best. This could be the best pass rush in the Big Ten. And I'll continue to say that. And I really believe it's something that could be true. Maryland basketball plays another game against Penn State in a couple of hours. Let's talk about that. What do I predict? They're finally maybe going to win a game? I don't know. We'll talk about that next. The college football playoff is here, and FanDuel is giving all customers even more ways to get in the action every single game day of the playoffs. Because right now, every college football playoff game, FanDuel users get a profit boost waiting for them in the app. And here's what I love about it. You get to use a profit boost on the best you already feel good about. Ride with your favorite when you think a team controls the matchup. Take control of the underdog if you feel an upset coming, or build a parlay around the players and moments you think decide the game. Then you apply the profit boost and go after even bigger winnings. And when you win, FanDuel pays out instantly, which is perfect for playoff football. FanDuel is the best place to get on the action all playoff long. So visit FanDuel.com to get your college football playoff profit boost every game day. Let's talk about Maryland basketball having one of its few times that this season that they're a favorite in a basketball game against Penn State. An interesting game for Maryland basketball. They play in a couple hours. I hope some of you guys are able to catch this before the game against 9-10 Penn State. They play at Maryland. So I did say this. I said a couple days ago, I think this is the best opportunity. If Maryland's going to win a game, it's probably going to be this. At home against a Penn State team that's pretty awful. So I definitely think it's a huge opportunity for Maryland to win a game against a program that's been pretty bad I feel like over kind of a span of time. They weren't very good last year either, this Penn State team. They were 16-15, 6-4 in the Big Ten. So I guess it's not a terrible record, but they just haven't been like a great basketball school, more known as kind of a football school, obviously, but they've had a lot of change there as well. So it's definitely interesting too. But I think this game is going to come down to like a couple things. I think Penn State does have some interesting players. They have a kid, Ivan Juric. He's a freshman. I think I'm saying his name right. He's a 7-footer. He's like an international player. He's pretty good for them. Definitely a decent player. They have another freshman guard that's been one of their better guys as well at 6'5", this Mela Tunka guy. And then they have another senior in Josh Reed, a senior forward, 6'10", is one of their better players as well. But I'm not too worried about Penn State's basketball players, like in terms of their personnel, in terms of guys that we have to match up with. I'm not too concerned about it. I think they're okay. Like I think they have a couple of guys that can maybe do a little something, but I'm honestly not too concerned. I know the kid, Caden Mingo, has been decent, but he's also been out a little bit. And like I talked about, they have that 2 freshmen, the Juric kid and Tunka, both averaging around 10 points a game. But I think this is one where Maryland's going to have a real opportunity to win this game. They're going to have a real opportunity. I think one of the biggest thing is, though, that Penn State does do well is they don't turn over the ball a ton, which kind of surprised me. I was looking through some of their statistics, reading some stuff, and I was like, okay, I would expect them to turn over the ball, but they actually don't turn over the ball a ton. They only do 9.4 turnovers per game, which is 3rd best in the conference. So that could be something that kind of scares a Maryland team that's turn over the ball a lot the entire year. And so that could be the difference. Like I might call it right now, that might be the difference in the game. If Maryland turns over the ball a ton against this Penn State team, that might be the difference. Maryland's averaging 13.2 turnovers per game compared to Penn State's 9.4. It's just too many, and it's a big reason why we're getting blown out. It's so many turnovers. Like 13 is the average for Maryland. 13.2 is the average turnovers per game. So we have games where we're getting 15, 16 turnovers. You know how hard it is to make up for that for a team that's already not that talented? And that's the biggest part that scares me against this Penn State team is Penn State ain't even that good. Like, I think we're a tad bit more talented. They're definitely a little bit better in terms of playing a little bit smarter, but I think we are a little bit more talented. But you look at that and you're like, that's scary for Maryland football. Like Penn State or Maryland basketball. Penn State is one of those teams that isn't going to give you a ton, but they're also not going to like beat themselves in a way. So it'll be interesting. So we'll definitely see. And they also have some injuries as well. Their other kid, Caden Mingo, who's been one of their better players, of another freshman, has missed 3 games. And so we'll see if he ends up playing. The reports are if he plays, he won't be at full strength, but he's definitely been one of their leader guys. He wasn't one of the guys I mentioned at first just because I wanted to mention that. I wasn't sure if he was going to play, but this team is kind of where they kind of definitely have some shortcomings. This Penn State team is they're young. They're young and not very good. And that combination isn't great to make upsets, but they also have kind of like nothing to lose. It's kind of like first year for them if they get a lot of these guys back that they might be expecting to get back, whether it's the kid Caden Mingo or the Ivan Jurick guy or some of these other players, and they could be pretty good next year. I think they definitely could be pretty good next year, but I do think it's a team that Maryland should have no trouble beating. They also don't rebound the ball that well, this Penn State team, which is definitely a good thing for Maryland, who's been undersized. And so I really am going to be looking at a couple guys from Maryland. I think Elijah Sanders has kind of turned it on and has been decent. We need him to be pretty good for sure. And then I think this is a big defensive game. I think neither offense is very good. Penn State nor Maryland are very good offensively. We're gonna have to see what happens. And I want to see some ball movement from Maryland basketball. I think we know that this is going to be a defensive scrap. Maryland only had, 6 assisted baskets against USC compared to USC having like 20-something. That's where I have some trouble with the Maryland basketball team. The ball's got to move more. If you don't have guys that can beat guys off the dribble, if you don't have guys that can create their own shot, the ball's got to move more. And that's going to be something I'm going to be looking at against Penn State if that can happen. But we're favorites by, 2.5 points? So a home game. Can you get a win? Can we get to a Big Ten win so we're not looking at the bottom of the conference? We'll see what happens. It's been a highly disappointing year so far, but Buzz Williams can't win this game, then I don't know, because this game isn't one where we're not just out-talented. They're not just way better than us. So it's one you hope Maryland can figure out. It's one you hope Maryland can get in the win column, but who knows what will happen. It's been pretty sad this year, but I would definitely love to see us make a comeback of some point and maybe get a couple of these Big Ten wins. And this is one that we've been circling. It's like, this is one you could win. This is one you can win. This program's pretty bad right now. So we'll see what ends up happening. Maryland gets their left tackle back. Let's talk about it. I'm really excited about this. I think it's good news for the Maryland offensive line. I'll talk about that next. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever just to hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with the local tax Turbo expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get every deduction. You can upload your documents go about your day and get the updates right in the TurboTax app. It's huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit turbotax.com/local to book your appointment today. Maryland gets their left tackle back in Tre Perry, which I think is really big news for the Terps. Left tackle is the most important position on the offensive line, especially when you play at Maryland football. And when you look at Malik Washington and when you look at his ability and his talent, if he is someone that can block for him solidly at the tackle position, you feel pretty good about the production he's going to be able to put up, even with transfer receivers that I'm not even 100% are going to be good. Like, I don't know with these transfer receivers, and hopefully there's still guys on the roster that can make an impact. I still kind of wish we brought in another guy that you feel really good about, but there's still more time. I'm sure we'll end up bringing some more players, but I think getting Tre Perry back is really important, especially talking about the receivers and Malik Washington, but also just Maryland's play style. Pass the ball a ton. It's been like that under Mike Locksley. It's entertaining to watch. I feel like I'm playing Madden. I'm like, I don't really want to watch you guys run the football. I don't really want to watch that. So it's pretty fun to watch for Maryland football. It's fun to see us throw the ball around. But you need a good left tackle if you're going to do it. And I talked about getting maybe the best pass rush. I keep saying pass rushing because I'm ready to say pass rushing duo because I'm so used to saying that. But the whole point of me saying pass rushes, including Zion Ely with that duo that we have, that freshman duo from last year. But they'll get good reps in practice. Tre Perry against Sidney Zahir. Iron sharpens iron. Zion Ely in that mix too. I think it'll end up working out. I think at the left tackle position for us, I still think there's multiple positions to fill in the offensive line. We'll see who ends up stepping up and ends up playing. Howerton, Gilchrist, Amari Hills. We know Michael Hershey's our starting center. Michael Hershey was actually pretty good last year. When I saw kind of the PFF breakdown, when you're actually watching games, you're not focusing on the center ultra. Like, I knew he was solid, but he was pretty good last year. And so I think he has a chance to make a jump. And then Jalen Gilchrist coming back from injury. I think Tre Perry in the offensive line could be okay. Okay is all we ask for Maryland football. I always say, if you're asking for more from a Maryland offensive line, it just ain't going to happen. You got to be realistic, got to be real with yourself. An okay offensive line is probably what we're going to get. And Tre Perry's a good start to having an quote-unquote okay offensive line. So I think it's a big pickup for Maryland football. I think it makes a lot of or a good keep from Maryland football. I think it makes a lot of sense. And I've always said this. Today's college football, everyone talks about getting guys in the portal. How about retaining players? I think that's a huge part of this equation to being pretty good in college football and not having to reteach everyone or having whole new kind of a team alignment and having to introduce everyone. And there's actually kind of a feeling of people like getting older and taking on bigger leadership role and people actually caring about the program rather than just everyone's just there for the money. And so I think retaining players is really important in today's college football, and getting a guy back, especially your left tackle back, that was okay last year. That has a chance to improve and be better. And I think has the opportunity to get to be pretty good at the left tackle spot, I think is really important for Maryland football. So we'll see what ends up happening with it. But I think this offensive line still needs to add another tackle in the portal, especially with Alan Heron off to the NFL if he gets drafted. I don't know if that'll happen, but he's going to give himself a chance. And so you need a right tackle, but I like that we have our left tackle kind of locked down for next year, and I think it's a big deal. And we'll see how we fill out the rest of the offensive line, but I think it's going to come together okay. Like, I think the offense is coming together solidly. I think the running backs are set. I think the tight end room's pretty set. I would love to see another receiver or two and a couple offensive linemen, but it's in a better spot, the whole team, than it was last year. I think the defense looks good. Like, I think the team's becoming much improved and a much better team, but we'll see what ends up happening with everything. But I like the track that we're on. But that's all we have for today. Thank you guys for listening to Locked on Terps. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. We're here every day talking Maryland football and basketball. So thank you guys for listening to Locked on Terps.